Hello, welcome back. Felix here. Today on Storm Clearer, we'll be looking at the not the UK weather, because there isn't actually any more storms forecast to come that will cause any significant impacts. Um, so I just need to piece together a video from Storm Pre Piesca, whatever it was named by France. It was actually named twice apparently, so I'm not sure of that occurred. Um, but yeah, the storm was pretty bad actually. For us, we had a decent amount of damage. We've got a lot of small twigs and branches that came down, hedges that came down, rotten trees that came down. At the front, one of the rotten trees is incredibly shaky now. We've got branches from the conifers, we've got branches from the hedges, actually loads from the hedges. We've got this hedge that's come down, that hedge that's come down, cherry tree bits that have come down. Not a great deal. Again, lots of twigs, like an insane amount of debris, like flowers and leaves and twigs, small branches, shocking numbers of that. Across the road, some small trees came down, lots of branches. I say a lot of debris as well. Rubbish from the neighbours' wheelie bins that flew through the air all over the driveway. Our bins then fell down, but they were empty. And all the recycling was blowing around. The plant pots were blowing around. The watering can, all that stuff. Out the back, just again small bits of furniture blowing around. Everything that I secured and put away out of the way was fine. The chairs were okay because I tucked those back. The poles were fine. Took this candle down, that statue down, put the beds this way for the dogs. All of that was okay. A bit of damage to some of the plant pot stuff, but that's not too bad. Plant pots all not blown around because I sorted all that out. This is the ones out the front which I thought would be okay, just got picked up and lobbed. We did have a lot of damage from the hedges, like shedding twigs and stuff. Just leaves and just literally bushes just literally peeled apart. Entire segments of tree just literally peeled one by one as the storm just got worse and worse and worse and worse. Top wind speed, they believe, was 95 in the storm, which the hours are silly. 85 was expected for the county, more than likely 80 here, which is about 25 higher, 26 higher than what it should have been. They kept updating it, and it was still 26 higher than it should have been. They were going, there's no need to be too concerned. We've updated the winds to, be what it, to the wind speed we think it is. The rain's not too bad, and all of that stuff. Well, in the storm across the southwest, people were being rescued from holiday parks because holiday parks were flooded. People were rescued from the sea walls were collapsing, beach huts were being washed into the sea, debris was being thrown at trains and people injuring them, windows were smashed from flying debris, sheds were destroyed, all the trains were cancelled, trees were coming down, bridges were being washed out, rivers were bursting their banks, trampolines were being blown around, roofs were being torn off, chimneys were collapsing, and it's like, yes, it's the middle of the night, the worst of the storm, around like anywhere from like 10 p.m. to like 4 a.m. But there should have still been an amber, because what if that chimney collapsed on the roof and gone through the roof? The internet was out. There was trees that had come down on power lines. There were power lines down. Cars had been washed into the sea from the high tide because it was an extremely high tide from the spring high tide, storm surge, and these 75-foot waves that were forecast for some areas. So considerable amounts of flooding. Loads of roads were closed again for flooding. I obviously couldn't go out because I'm not allowed to go out in severe weather, but hopefully in the future I'll just do it myself. I'll be like, yeah, I'm off. So yeah, that storm was a lot worse than it should have been. I can definitely say that. Wheelie bins lids were blown open and the contents of the wheelie bin was blown out. Then the wheelie bin started rolling around. Roadworks were destroyed, so then people were going down road closed areas, and those roadworks ended up down the side of like a hill, or like a canyon, basically down the side of a canyon. So then people, probably driving into the big hole which then leads into the canyon, because the roadwork crews had no common sense. Like in the past, they used to put massive concrete blocks in place to stop all the debris. They didn't do that this time. So in the housing areas they're building, all of the insulation, all of that was blown across the road. There were bushes that had just been blown across, fences being blown across, street lights which were just being rattled, and the light fittings themselves were falling out. They had the national grid that was just stretched, and the Southwest Water was stretched. There were in the town centre there was literally concrete which had basically been washed out of the ground from the amount of rain and flooding, and there was also this loads of damage down the side of the road from floodwater. I will do the video I will be doing is literally, it's going to be a cool video. It's going to have the storm coming, the storm and its peak, literally being blown off my feet nearly. We'll be hearing snaps, debris flying through the air. You'll be seeing the rain literally as a blur. You couldn't tell it was rain because it was just a blur because it was moving so fast. My speedometer maxed out, and then you'll get to see the damage. But I've got to put all that together, figure out the order and all of that. And I've got to make some space to record other stuff. And then we've also got the first week of bird feeder uploads to do, because that camera is about to be full, 256 gig, and then I need to transfer it to the computer, transfer it to YouTube, make it into a video, delete it off the computer so I have space to bring the next batch in. On top of all that, I've got about 12 hours of homework to do, and I've only got about 14 hours of time, and then in that time I need to get on and tidy my room, and I want to go out on my bike. But the problem is I can't go out on my bike because the paths I take are all closed because of the number of fallen trees and destroyed buildings there are. And I'd say destroyed buildings because abandoned buildings which are in the area, they were just obliterated. Trees were falling on them, splitting them in half basically because they're so weak. They did not fare well. There was a considerable amount of damage across the woodland in the area because it is an old woodland, so this is the thing, if we had the drone already, I would send the drone up, but we're just going to look, you can see the date up here, we're just going to have a look at, it's just weather fronts really. Yes, there is going to be a rather windy batch of weather up there, but really, the isobars, we've got high pressure tomorrow. Actually, that was today. Today was very nice, actually, and into tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow is actually meant to be quite wet, which is good. But the isobars do narrow again a bit. A very messy batch of low pressure systems. A very deep area of low pressure. Very weird shaped isobars. I've got to admit, I've never seen rectangles before. So that causes considerable wind speeds. Here we have probably quite